Morning, day 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, probably 40 degrees. Started my journey out of the KOA on the south side of Lordsburg, and got a couple mile walk to Lordsburg, which I'm doing right now. Yesterday's hike was about 26 miles, and the highlight of the hike was I think I met like 8 through hikers, and the wonderful conversations, and to see all the excitement in their eyes. Oop, that light ahead of me is kind of blinding me. And so it was a long day, 84 degrees. I was certainly very sore at the end of the day, and glad to see a camper to sleep in. Was actually wondering how much of a hike I was going to be up for this morning, but after a night's rest, everything feels pretty good. Continue to tape up the hot spots on my right foot, and my big toe isn't causing much pain, but certainly looks uglier, and it's likely that I'll lose the toenail eventually, but fortunately not causing much pain. For today, the hike will be either between 23 and 25 miles, so I'll hike up. It'll be an elevation gain. I'll hike up into the hills and then cut over and cross a highway, and if I've had enough, checklist will be just a couple miles away in a boondocking campsite to come get me. Otherwise, I'm going to hike right to the boondocking campsite at closer to 25 miles. In terms of water, I've got 3.5 liters, and there's one good water source today. There's multiple water sources, but they're all reported dry. So at mile 15, I'll be topping all my water off to finish the day out. About an hour later, still on the road walk out of Lordsburg, I caught that magical moment when the sun is between the sky and the ground, filling me with positive energy for the rest of the day. Walking into the sunrise, so I did a couple mile road walk out of Lordsburg, and then went under a fence at the roadside, and then cut across ranch land with no CDT sign, so I used the Far Out app to guide me, which I kept course correcting, but was heading for what was supposed to be a fence crossing, but I kept being right of the trail, and then finally got to the fence, and I was a tenth of a mile to the right, and my mojo was working because there was a gate where I hit the fence. So I walked through the gate, and then talked to people later that said, yeah, really, because where Far Out has you crossing the fence, there's no gate at all. So apparently the Far Out trail is a little bit off, but also these CDT signs did start showing themselves after crossing the fence, and they are matching the Far Out trail, so it looks like the gate got put in about a tenth of a mile to the right of where the signs are. Okay, the trail mile 11 for the day, and the reason checklist tonight kind of crunched our travel schedule down to crazy cook and got me on trail 2 days early was to try to beat the heat and get out of the desert. And the heat is here, and it's a double whammy with no wind at all. So there is a little bit of clouds, which is helping somewhat, but it's probably 10 o'clock. It's easily over 80 degrees already. So it makes it really good for making videos because you don't have the of the wind, but it makes it for a tougher day. So up in the water intake quite a bit. Actually had a fast pace this morning, and I've slowed my pace down. Stay away from overheating. And about 2-3 miles, there's a water tank that's dry, but it should provide shade unless I see shade ahead of time, and I'll take a nice shade break and cool down and keep drinking water. So even though it isn't the most pleasant hiking, still not too bad, doing okay. And I'm headed up that way and up into the southern edge of the Gila, I believe. So we get a little more later. About 8 miles from Highway 70 at Engineer Mill water tank. Ate lunch and filtered water for the rest of the hike for today. You gotta celebrate the wins. Okay, 6:30 in the morning, heading out. Yesterday was like 23 and a half miles. Started out of Lordsburg, probably about 14 miles of gradual climb through brushy ranch land, and then and quite warm, no wind, over 80 degrees, and then into some the first real climbing of the trip. I think the net ascent for the day was like 3,000 feet, with 1,000 feet of descent in the up and downs. But climbed up into the southern edge of the Gila National Forest. So from this point forward, for many days, it's going to be up and down. So a bit more energy consumption, but on the positive, it'll be cooler. It's supposed to be a high of 75 today. How am I feeling? Still feeling pumped, still up, talking away in the morning. Checklist is like, okay, I got it. So there's a look back, and if you can see the line about midway up to the ridge and the back, I believe that's Mexico Highway 70, approximately where I started, and I've been winding my way through mostly on the right side of this screen up to this point. It's been a nice cool morning with a breeze and completely sunshiny. Much more technical terrain than the section from Crazy Cook to Lordsburg, but very enjoyable nonetheless. I was trucking along pretty good, following the footsteps, and they all went this way, and the trail got pretty bad, and I went, man, something's not right here. So stop, check, sure enough, this is wrong. Fortunately, I'm only 0.01 miles off trail. The junction's just back, and I can tell by all the footsteps, some poor souls have really climbed up in there before catching the mistake and turning around. So back I go. Hopefully don't have too many more of these or any bad ones. So after a week of hiking and having the travel trailer at various campgrounds and RV sites, we come across an equal number of hiker people and an equal number of and I'll say non-hiker people. And the commentary is very good, very interesting. Certainly doing the supported through hike that I'm doing, there's almost nobody out here doing that. The response from almost all the hikers and trail magic people is they think it's outstanding, and if they could do it, that's the way they would want to do it. And that's not everybody, but no negative response whatsoever. And then the standard response from the non-hiker people is, "Oh, you're gonna hike from New Mexico to Canada? I just don't get that." And that's okay. That's a perspective. So with that, with the experiences with work and friends in the past and the non-hiker people, as you walk 25 miles a day. So it brings up the question, why do I choose to hike? Why do I choose an active lifestyle? So the most simple, boiled down answer to that question is, we choose an active lifestyle for improved health and happiness. Something like 3 miles in on day 7. Sunny, no breeze, or it's at my back anyway, so no breeze. And at mile 3, popped out of the pine woods and come on to this view. Hey, baby. And so it looks like probably 13 more miles of up and down in this scenery, and then I'll hit Highway 180, and then I'll be a road walk into Silver City from there. And depending on how I'm doing, I'll have Checklist pick me up on 180, or possibly I'll make it into town and she'll pick me up there. So when I stop in a little while, I'll comment about yesterday's hike and how things are going. But it's always a highlight when you pop out of the woods and get this type of scenery. It's what it's all about. So taking a 10-minute foot break at mile 5 on day 7. So whoa. A review of day 6 was 22-mile mountainous hike, so 3,000 foot of climb and descent. The only source of water for backpackers, aside from happening to bump into somebody on the New Mexico highway, was at mile 4, and there was no reliable source of water where I got picked up last night by Checklist. So we cached 3 gallons of water at that road intersection and left a note on far out for people. I think the next reliable source of water today from that start point is actually 12 miles. So, people have approximately a 29-mile carry with no reliable water source. So how did the day go for me? It was a much bigger day than all the previous days because it was the first real mountainous section. Working real hard to climb differently and use the ball of my feet, which I think is going to make more sore muscles than otherwise. But if it keeps the arthritis from being a problem, it's definitely what I need to do. How was my body this morning? So legs weren't sore last night, feet were sore. This morning definitely had more stiffness and soreness in the legs, and I think it's largely from the climb and the descent. So you definitely use different muscles, mostly descending, and and feet were pretty good this morning, not too bad. No real change there. Up till now, I've kind of been trying to fit my hiking into 6 to 4 p.m. To allow for reasonable hours for drop off and pickup. And I'm hiking at the same rate as maybe a through hiker, but I'm not taking as many or as long of breaks to let my muscles relax and let the blood flow. And I think that's something that I have to change, and will be changing even today. So I'm stiffer today. The terrain is more difficult. Not that there's that much total net gain, ascent and descent, but it's much hillier than what the Far Out app says. and it's had ATV traffic on it, so it's a loose rock and just pretty crappy trail. Possibly that'll change as the day goes on. And so I was doing 7-mile breaks. Today I'm going to do 5-mile breaks. So emotions, just as positive as day one. Going to keep going. So this is a good example of day 7, miles 5 through what's up ahead. So pretty good trail. First 5 miles was poor trail. Next 5+ miles, pretty good. A nice downhill beach sand walk through a wash. Downhill beach sand walking is far preferred over uphill. Stop for lunch in this downhill wash. And today's been a warm day. The breeze is at my back, so when I'm walking, I don't have a breeze. When I'm sitting, I do have a breeze. And the sun is intense. And if I have a shoe that is not shaded, it's quickly overheating. And if I have a shoe that's shaded by my body, then it hangs in there for a while. But I'm not making it 5 miles between times that I have to stop and shuck my shoes off and cool my feet off. So hot day, going slow, and I think that's just the right thing to do. So had a good lunch, did cool off in the shade, and getting ready to head back out. About 5 miles to get to Highway 180. Now for a 12-mile road walk into Silver City. We'll see how far I make it. I desperately, I would really like to take a full 0 tomorrow, get a whole day off. So the farther I get tonight, the more probable that is. On the morning of day 8, woke up and my right ankle had begun, and right foot a little bit, had begun swelling. This appears to be due to the more difficult terrain, which is causing the angle of my foot to move quite a bit more the previous 2 days. So the tendons are rubbing against the arthritic rougher surface, causing some pain and swelling. This issue occurred twice in the left ankle during my training period, and usually took between 2 and 7 days to get the inflammation to come down. Wasn't expecting it to happen on my right ankle, but it did. On the positive, the left ankle is doing quite fine, but the right ankle did cause me to take 3 zeros in Silver City to get the inflammation to come down. So definitely not what you wanted to see, but it's just an issue that you have to analyze and try to deal with. Embrace the difficulty or brutality on this section for me was the more difficult terrain and the increase in loose rock trail, or more difficult trail, resulting in a lot more bending and twisting and rolling of my ankles, and really not seeing an issue until the rest day on the 8th day, but resulting in some inflammation in my right ankle. My choice coming into this section was to do fewer miles with a full pack and camp in the middle of the woods, or to do the miles that I did with a light pack and hope that the light weight would not cause ankle problems. It's unknown if I'd have made the other choice what would have resulted, but the difficulty for me was that my right ankle wasn't quite able to handle the more difficult terrain. Okay, for this video's gear talk, I'm gonna go through my food system for my through hike, and it's pretty simple. I'm using a cold soaking system and using this Taliente ice cream container. I didn't get to eat the ice cream because I'm type 2 diabetic, but my father really enjoyed the ice cream. This container, I'm not sure what it weighs, but an ounce or two, weighs almost nothing. And then I have freeze-dried meals that we package in Ziploc bags. We mix them ourselves. So in the morning when I get up and pack up and get ready to hit the trail, I put this into this container and fill it with water, close it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the outer mesh of the backpack, hike for 1 to 2 hours, and when it's break time, stop, and then I have breakfast. So started to do this on a kind of a practice trip in the winds last year and in the Grand Canyon, and it works excellent, works just fine. So on this trip, I do not have a stove and don't intend to have one through the duration of it. And this is an example of my dinner or supper, and I use tuna packs for lunch. So that's this video's gear talk. In summary, the section from Lordsburg to Silver City has a more mountainous terrain and difficult trail. The increase in difficulty, coupled with my arthritic ankles, led to some inflammation issues and requiring 3 0 days. Certainly from an emotional standpoint, that was very frustrating and kind of had me down in the dumps. So it was a great benefit to have checklists there with me to help me talk through some of the issues and frustrations and to develop plans of how we might manage and potentially eliminate the inflammation in the future. So that's all for now, and just ask everybody to remember to get out for that 15 to 30 minute walk each day, and to remember to
keep stepping on.
You gotta be shipping me. What'd you think I said?